They've only known each other for 5 days. Why in the heck would you reveal one of your biggest secrets to a person that you've known only for 5 days just because you're starting to feel things for them? Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Chia and I am failing at my TBR this month. In fact, I've only read 1 book from my TBR and 2 books overall in July. I've had a lot of stuff come up. I've had family stuff and people visiting from out of town. It's been too hot. I do not want to be reading when it's hot. I love being cozy when I'm reading, so it's been kind of hard. And also I was like at a trip at the end of June, and when you come back from a trip, you have to readjust going back to being back to everyday life. That's what I've been doing so far, but I am determined to finish my TBR. This is what's left on my physical TBR, and then the 1 book that I have on Kindle Unlimited is Daggermouth. I don't know how much I'm gonna get through my TBR, but we are going to try to do it together because Daggermouth, I think it's like about 500 pages, and then also Strange Dreamer. I am almost done with this. I'm on chapter 40, page 339, so I'm almost done with this. I'm over 60% of the way through. I am tandem reading this with the audiobook because, like I said, I haven't been really in the mood to just sit down and read a physical book, so I've been listening to it on audiobook and also reading the physical when it starts like getting cooler at nighttime. But I am really loving it. This follows a character named Laszlo. He is unfortunately a war orphan and was sent to a monastery. They gave him the name Laszlo, and then he was sort of like a peculiar child while he was growing up. In fact, he came out gray or something like that, and growing up he was never like a part of the regular crowd. He was never wanting to be a part of his lessons. In fact, all he wanted to do was play pretend. And then he heard that one of the brothers, who was like more senile and older, told stories of this mysterious city called Weep. It was never really named Weep. In fact, everyone knew what the real name was, and one day all of a sudden the name disappeared from everyone's mouth and everyone's brain. And there's this one vivid scene where Laszlo is a kid pretending and he's about to say the name of the city, and instead of the name of the city, it's just Weep that comes out. And it literally is like one of the most vivid scenes I've ever read about a name being ripped out of the mouth. The city of Weep has always been fabled. Laszlo has never wanted to be a part of like the monastery. In fact, the moment he was able to become an apprentice at this library, he left and became a librarian, and he loves books, and he's one of those like people who never lost his belief in Weep. In fact, he scoured every single bit of text that he could get his hands on to see any evidence of the story of Weep, and yet nobody ever believed him. Nobody ever thought him like right-minded since he believed in the myth so much. But one day, one of the people who are from Weep, called the Godslayer, comes and recruits people, and he gets a chance to visit the city of Weep. And the city of Weep, when we come to it, it's not as he dreamed, as he read. In fact, they're under their own problems right now. Since I'm over 60% of the way through, I get the feeling of the story. It's one of those slower paced stories where not a lot of action is happening throughout the whole entire book, but it's like one of those stories where it slowly tells you and has a build up to the end, and it alternates POVs between Laszlo and also a person named Sarai, and she is a god spawn. She is colored blue, and she has this power where, to get the gist of it without like being completely like detail botting, because I want you guys to go in for yourself to see what this book is about. I think you should let the book unfold itself to you, but all I can say is that she can have the ability to affect people's nightmares, in fact cause them to. They are called there along with Laszlo, along with like all these mathematicians and like builders and all that stuff, to come solve the problem of Weep. Oh my gosh guys, this book is so sad because they had to live through this sort of like carnage of the Godslayer coming to kill the gods. Basically, the gods are terrible gods. They were so cruel, and you have to read your trigger warnings for this for sure, because they heavily delve into like a lot of themes in here. So it's written so well. I love the way it's like very lyrical prose. It's not overly descriptive and not overly flowery, which I kind of like stay away from, because I just feel like I lose the sense of the plot and everything else that's being described if, you know, it's too overly descriptive. But I love the way this is written. It's so rich. There's also a subplot of a little bit of romance happening between our characters, and the way it's coming about is so beautifully done, and I am loving it so far. This are the type of fantasies that I absolutely love, where they slowly build out the story to you and you feel such heartfelt like moments with the characters, because they have to relive stuff through their memories and dreams and nightmares and everything. There's such a huge themes of that, and I can't wait to finish it. And then the next one is like the Witch Collector by Teresa Weeks, which is a book I've been wanting to read for forever, but like I said, the third book has been stuck in like publishing limbo for like 2 or 3 years, but finally we get a release date for it, and so I want to read this. I think it's about like obviously a witch collector, and we'll see if I actually like it because I do have both the first books to read. And then the next one is, of course, the last physical book I have on my July TBR is The Scholar and the Last Fairy Door, H.G. Perry. This one is about a character named Clover. She attends this like magical university to help out her older brother who was unfortunately cursed by a fairy curse during 1920 during World War I. And so it has themes of that, and she attends the magical university, and I'm not too sure about it yet because I've only read like maybe 50 pages of it. Like I first started reading it a month ago, but then I didn't really pick it up again because I just felt like I was in the mood for it. But I'm actually really excited to continue on with this because it's sort of like historical fantasy, and I don't know where this is going to go to because it's supposed to be a standalone. We shall see what I feel about it. Of course, on my Kindle I have Daggermouth by H.M. Wolf. Daggermouth became so huge earlier this year or the end of last year. It's one of those dystopian romance books, and apparently the enemies to lovers part is actually really done really well. I've been meaning and curious to see, so I might prioritize that after I'm done with what's it called, Strange the Dreamer. I'm scared of going into hype books now because I've been burned by so many hype books over the past few months, in fact over the past year, so I'm wary to go into them now, especially fantasy books. The literary fictions I've had, you know, bigger successes with, so I'm very picky on which fantasies I am picking up right now, so we shall see if those ones are like gonna be huge hits for me, but I feel like they will because I'm hopeful for The Scholar and the Last Fairy Door, and I'm really liking Strange the Dreamer, but The Witch Collector is another fantasy romance. I think I'm just going to finish Strange the Dreamer and probably update you at the end. I do not like my hair right now. I really need a haircut. Anyways, okay friends, I am back with an update. I did end up finishing Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. I knew I was going to finish it anyways. I was literally almost done with it when I first updated you guys. But this one is so good. This is the reason why I love fantasy so much. This is more of like a upper YA book. There are some heavy themes, especially when it comes to certain parts about the magical city that we learn more about, and especially when we start, you know, interacting a lot more with the people of Weep, and as well as jumping back and forth between the POVs of Sarai and also Laszlo. We come across a lot of things that are very heavy, and the thing I loved about this book so much is the writing was absolutely gorgeous. It had this like beautiful lyrical prose that didn't like cross the border of being too overly lyrical. It scratched an itch in my brain that like really loves this type of writing. I am so like mad at myself for waiting so long to pick up this duology. I always knew that I was going to love Laini Taylor's writing because I hear so many amazing things about it, but I was just like kind of burned a lot from the last few books that I've read that have been on my shelves, especially the YA ones. I feel like I just aged out from a lot of them, especially with like the old series that came out like mid 2015. But this one, it is upper YA, like I said. It's very heavier in the topics of certain things, especially like different things that are dealing with how the gods treated the humans and what they used them for. So it's very heavy. And I love this book because it doesn't really have a real enemy. Both sides have lost a lot of people. Both sides have gone through trauma and emotional turmoil, as well as feeling the effects of what happens when like these heroes go against the gods, and then the people who are left over after the gods, you know, get killed. The humans are not the only ones who are going through pain. The ones, the halflings, the godlings, I forget what they're called, but the god spawn, that's what they call them, are going through pain too. And they have every reason also to hate the humans as well because they watch people die, and it's so sad, like the stuff that happens. But then there's also stuff that happens to the humans, and they did not deserve the things that happened to them either, like the fact that like kids got taken away, and it was just like something that they expected because the person, the god who was like in charge of like the citadel and everything, like made this rule about taking people from their families and using them as their pawns in the citadel, and it's just so sad on both accounts. So there's not really a right person or wrong person in this book because they're both going through such heavy things. So it just shows that there's like a kind of equatable to there's no really winning in war. That yeah, ultimately one side is going to win because they're going to have the more power, the more everything. They're the ones who are going to have like the more luck of the draw and the chance, and also the less people who died. But there's still going to be people who get unalived on both sides, and they're going to face losses, and people who are participating in these wars are still going to come away with a lot of trauma, PTSD, everything. Even the hero that we kind of like interact with is still suffering through a lot of things of the aftermath of the things he chose to do, and he ultimately can't really like sleep at night anymore because of the trauma he goes through and the nightmares, and it's just there's no winning on both accounts. That's the thing about this book that like I feel like was the heaviest lesson in this, as well as I loved Laszlo because he wasn't your typical MMC that is like was tough and like the big hero, but he was like the softer hero who loved deeply, and like there's this parts where they're in this dream world where he has such a pure innocence to the way he sees the world and like kindness and everything, and sees both sides rather than like just one-siding it. I loved it also because it wasn't kind of like an ignorance kind of type of innocence. It was something where he knew he didn't know everything, yet he still was willing to completely learn because he loved learning so much. That's the main reason why he couldn't really survive in the monastery when he was a kid, and was trying to find ways to find more about stories and knowledge and like books. And then he lived his life in the library, but he was tired of being like just in books. He wanted to actually live his life, and the love story in this was like it could count as insta love, but the way that it was went about made me feel so many things for this couple. I loved the interactions between the MMC and the FMC, especially like in the dream worlds. I love how like the quick glimpses of they had of each other, of like spending time with each other, was exactly what each other needed, especially since like they're both not of the world. Sarai has always been stuck in the Citadel, and also Laszlo not being able to leave the library because he was always like talked down to because he was seen as just a librarian, even though he was the one who brought a lot of the knowledge, and he was the one who believed in Weep so much, even though majority of people told him that it was just a fanciful story, that he was crazy for even believing in the existence of the city. Yet he proved them all wrong, and when he came across like the reality of the city, that it wasn't as magical as he thought he was, it didn't break his belief. It didn't break his like side of it, because he knew that the reason why it was underneath this like turmoil and everything is because of the hardships that these people have gone through. He wasn't naive at all about that, which I absolutely love, and I cannot wait to move on to Muse of Nightmares, which is the sequel to Strange a Dreamer. It's only a duology, which I'm happy about. I've been loving duologies lately because I just feel like it packs the perfect punch, and I feel like I'm going to put this as one of my top series of all time because of the way I completely fell in love with the writing, the story, and the characters. So I highly recommend. I did end up giving it a 4.5. I just felt like it wasn't completely 5 stars for me because there were points where it just kind of like reached a lull a little bit, especially towards like the last 25%. I feel like Muse of Nightmares has a high chance, depending on the ending, to be a 5-star prediction for me. So stay tuned for when I actually pick that book up. It's been a few days, so I haven't had a chance to completely update you guys, but that means I did pick up The Scholar and the Last Fairy Door. This is like the book that I chose in July. I had to choose a book that was set in a different continent, and this one is set in England, mainly in a place called Camford, which is basically a combination of Cambridge and Oxford, which are like the big 2 universities in England. Camford is more of the magical school. I'm actually almost done with it. I think I have about like 80 pages left, I think it is. I'm on chapter 26, page 377. This book is broken up into 4 different parts. I'm on part 4. And so when we first come across this book, we meet a character named Clover, and she is living in this farm with her family in the countryside of England, and her older brother is off to war. It's the middle of World War I. She hasn't heard anything from her brother for like maybe a couple years, and unfortunately during that time when her brother was away, their dad unfortunately passed away. The responsibility of like taking care care of the farm kind of falls on her shoulders. They finally hear news about her brother from this person named Sam, and they unfortunately hear that he's been cursed by a fairy curse. Now, in this world, magic is not a heavy, prominent thing. In fact, they didn't know anything about magic until this person, Sam, came to them and told them that her brother was hurt. And so she takes it upon herself to go fix this curse, which ends up her going into Camphor University. So the first part of the story, actually the first 2 parts of the story, is set in Camphor, where she kind of starts off really homesick because she's the only person who had to learn how to be a witch through knowledge and everything, and to learn how to do magic, whereas everyone else who's attending this university is a part of these big families where they're the only elitists who are the ones who know magic, who come from family of wizards and witches, who are basically the elite few who are allowed to have magic and everything. But she's the one who comes in here from a family that's not a part of the families. Like, they call them the families because they're the big ones who have magic in them. One of the people who are prominent in this family like comes and talks to her in this library, and she gets entranced in this world of like glamour and everything. Fairy curses are very forbidden in this university. In fact, during the World War I, they had to seal this door, the final door that was connecting to the fairy world. And then right now, there's kind of like a big happening that happened between the friends that kind of breaks them apart. This whole entire study of where just because you learn the knowledge to do it and you learn everything about it, but just because you can doesn't mean you should. That's the whole entire theme of this book. I am feeling right now, from like how it's written and everything, that I really love what the themes are. I love that it's more dark academia based, and then there's criticisms on like the academy so gatekept from people who don't have money, and influences and all of that stuff, and privileges to attend school. I really do like the characters too. I don't feel as connected to them as I want to. I do like feel stressed out about the things they were doing, especially the choices they were making. I knew something bad was going to happen, and they were so arrogant about it, thinking that like, oh, what could possibly go wrong, when they knew everything in and out about the certain thing. Well, obviously something went wrong. And so I love the story. I love the writing of this. I'm trying to see how everything's going to wrap up because they're such in a climax right now. I felt, for me at least, that the first half had my attention a lot, and I was burning through the first half. As you could tell, since I'm almost done. It's like 456 pages and I'm already burning through it. I was really entranced with the first half of the book, but once we had the time jump and everything happened, I just felt like I lost interest a bit, because I was really interested in all the stuff they was actually learning. They were actually going to school, and they were actually going to their classes, and also they were having big study sessions. And also I love the found family that we had at the beginning, but since like I said, they're kind of like broken apart right now. I felt like the first half was a lot stronger than the second half, but I'm still liking it. It's still like within like the 4-star range, but we shall see what rating I give it towards the end and how everything wraps up, and I hope it wraps up well. I really do. And since I'm close to finishing that, I did start The Witch Collector. I was going to pick up Daggermouth because the traditionally released physical version came out on Tuesday. I went to go pick it up, but I don't know if I'll be able to finish it in this vlog because we're literally on July 30th. Tomorrow's the last day of July. I'll probably be able to finish this because I'm 82 pages in and it's not that long. How many pages is this? 343 pages, so I know I can finish this by tomorrow. I might start Daggermouth tonight after I finish The Scholar and The Last Fairy Door, but I know I'm not going to finish it in this vlog, so this book will probably be the last one that I read. I'm still just barely at the beginning of it. I already spent too much time talking about Strange Dreamer and Scholar of the Last Fairy Door. I will probably talk more about this once I finish The Scholar and The Last Fairy Door. I will definitely finish it today since I only have 80 pages left, but I will update you once I get further into this. And I'm officially done with my third book of the July TBR. Overall, I think I'm going to be giving this a 4.5. It's not quite a 5-star for me. I felt like there were points when the pacing was a little bit off. And also, I was a little bit annoyed with her female character sometimes because she dragged on a little bit too long for when she was making decisions. But otherwise, I think this is such a good, solid read. I highly recommend this to read right now or even during fall time. It's heavily based in academy and also goes through like a couple of years of them being in school, and it just has that cozy feeling of like being a academic fantasy that you could read. But I absolutely love this. It's a standalone. We need more great standalones. I love H.G. Perry's writing. I love that we explored both the people who were, you know, unprivileged to know magic, as well as the people who were privileged enough to know magic, as well as Clover being caught between the two different worlds. People will do things for the people they love, even if it means like hurting other people. They will tear the world down if that means that they can save the person that they love, even if it like has harsh consequences on the people that are getting involved in this. I highly recommend this book. And now moving on to The Witch Collector. So I will be reading this. I have today and all of tomorrow to finish it, so hopefully it won't take me too long. Like I said, I'm 82 pages in already, so it might not take me too long at all. The only thing I don't like about this book is that it's so much taller than the other paperbacks I have. Like, look at this. And I think I have the second one on my shelf. I think it's City in Ruins. It's that tall too. I really don't like the feel of it being held in my hands, but I'm finding that I'm reading it really fast. These are my initial thoughts so far. I will give like a bigger synopsis later once I like get further into the story, but so far we are following a character named Reina. She is a witch. I think every 8 years is what happens. A witch collector comes to collect a witch for the Frost King, and the witch collector is named Alexis, and Reina has decided that she will, you know, kind of threaten the witch collector and try to go after him and leave the town that she's in so she can find her sister, because 8 years ago her sister was taken away. And then once Alexis comes to her town, crap goes down, a lot of stuff doesn't go correctly, and they have to team up because there is a bigger enemy at play. This is my initial thoughts right now from like the first few pages I've read. There are points when we were getting introduced to the character, especially since the POV is jumping back and forth between Alexis and also Reina. Oh, and also Reina, she is actually a mute. She can't really speak. She uses sign language to speak to other people. She speaks mainly to her family and maybe a few of the townspeople who took the time to learn sign language. The book that I chose for a character or like a book with disability representation, this is the book that I chose. So after we got introduced to the two characters, when Alexis was like traveling to the town, all of a sudden there was action happening out of nowhere, and I felt like I was missing a few things. Like all of a sudden it just jumped to where this action scene was happening, and he was all of a sudden fighting these enemies. And I felt like we kind of just jumped into it right away when I was still trying to get the lay of the land and trying to understand these characters and know who they are. I just feel like I was missing a couple of things in the first like 80 pages, but now we're getting to the crux of it. We're getting to the point where Alexis and also Reina have to team up to figure out this big bad, and also she's still trying to find her sister, and he says that he has information for her and yada yada yada. And I guess like Reina has powers that she's been keeping secret from people, like she's the seer, and I think that's the main reason why Alexis wants her. Like the moment they see each other in the town, like their gazes lock, I already see that it's gonna be more insta love than anything. That's what I'm feeling right now, instead of like building up to it, because I see it already from their interactions. Also, she's supposed to be hating him because, you know, he's the witch collector. He's the reason why her sister is gone, and she was going to use him to find her and all that stuff. So it's like leaning towards enemies to lovers, but I already can sense from like the beginning of the interactions that it's not going to be enemies much longer. I see that we're starting to be going on a journey, and I don't know how long this book will be on that journey. And I know we're going to start seeing like a relationship form from Alexis and Reina. I will come back once I have more of a bigger update, maybe closer being almost done with it. Like I said, I'm trying to finish this by tomorrow, because literally tomorrow's absolute last day of the month, last day of July for my July TBR. So I think I'll probably be able to finish this, but I don't think I'll be able to finish my last one. We shall see. Alright friends, I'm on part 4, page 310, and I'm about to finish this. Let's finish it together and I'll talk about it. Oh gosh. I'm done. Okay, overall thoughts. Alright, I don't know if I like it. It's just so repetitive at points. There was a time when like they would go journeying because they're trying to head over to where her sister's at, which is like the frost area. And then they would like stop for the night. Journey, stop for the night. He would teach her and converse with her how to strengthen her magic because he knows a lot about witches' magic since obviously he's the witch collector. And throughout those conversations, they start falling for each other, and all of a sudden, well, not even all of a sudden, the moment they saw each other and lock eyes, she was feeling things for him already. Like they had a sort of like magnetic pull or whatever. 5 days later, they all of a sudden have feelings for each other. That was a quick thing to happen, and I don't like that. I like slow burns. For me, there wasn't enough going on in the story for me to actually really like the overall book and for me to be interested enough to continue on with the series. I know the third book is supposed to come out next year, or the fourth book, something like that, because I know a novella is between the second and third. I have the second book on my shelves, The City of Ruin. Am I interested enough to go forward? I don't know, because I don't like the characters enough. The only character that kind of like really interested me was probably the prince, in all honesty, the dark prince, who was the shadow prince, who was the prince of the Eastlanders. Every single time he came on the scene, I was more interested in what he was doing, and I was interested in like what he was going to do. But then towards the end, he became one of those cringy villains who he was so formulaic with everything, and I'm just so over this formulaic fantasy romances. And I know this book came out around the surge of like fantasy romances. This book came out 2021, so around that point, right? And I know I should have probably read this earlier in my reading journey. Again, I am in a fantasy romance slump. I have very little like urge to pick up a lot of new fantasy romances right now because they're all so the same, and the only ones I'm picking up right now are the ones that actually have sequels that are coming out that I am looking forward to, that I actually really love the world already. But otherwise, a lot of them actually also have been disappointing me, and this one I just don't know how to feel about. I think I'm probably going to give it a 3 stars. Okay, I liked the magic system, but then it was confusing the way the magic system was going about, because there were certain points where we discovered different parts of Reina's power that she never knew. There are points where like she would be super powerful and in tune with her powers, and then all of a sudden the next scene she didn't know anything about her powers and couldn't do them anymore. The sense of repetitiveness would happen when one of them would get hurt because of one of the enemies, and then one of them would be helping the other be fixed and healed, and it would happen over and over and over again. Like they would keep getting like captured by the enemy, escape, captured by the enemy, escape, and it's a multi-POV. It's not only Alexis and Reina's point of view, there's also like sprinkles here and there of other characters in here too, and the side characters are more interesting as well as the side character romances. But the male main character and the female main character, I felt like their romance happened so fast. I didn't get a sense of how they connected at all, besides having a few conversations and finding each other attractive. Like, where was the romance coming from? I wish this was a little bit longer so that I had more of a chance to really get used to the romance, other than, you know, them instantly getting together. It was just too quick, to be honest. I need more in-depth of my romances if I'm going to read a fantasy romance. If there's not going to be any romance in it, then just focus on the fantasy part. But the fantasy part in this book was very, very limited too, that I just didn't know what to focus on because there was just so much going on but not enough at the same time, if you get what I'm saying. I never really knew or understood why they were collecting witches in the first place. It's like they just glanced over that because of the fact that she fell for the witch collector. And also, the number one thing I did like about it is that they were very communicative to each other. But the thing is, they've only known each other for 5 days. Why in the heck would you reveal one of your biggest secrets to a person that you've known only for 5 days just because you're starting to feel things for them? You don't even completely know this person. You don't even know how their personality is, how they are, and you don't even know if they're completely telling you the truth or not, and yet 5 days later you're willing to like tell everything to them. I don't get it. I really don't get it. And I really don't know if I'll continue on with the series or not. I didn't like the first book enough to continue. And like I said, I'm in a fantasy romance rut right now, and I just don't feel like continuing on mediocre series anymore. A lot of people said the second book is better, but then a lot of people who kind of was mediocre about the first book really didn't like the second book. Yeah, that's my thoughts. This was probably my least favorite. As a recap of the books that I finished this July TBR, it's the last day of July. I'm not going to get to Daggermouth, unfortunately, but maybe I'll pick it up in August. We shall see. If not, I'll probably save it for fall reads. My 2 favorites were definitely The Scholar and The Last Fairy Door by H.G. Perry, and also Strange the Dreamer. So much better written fantasy. This one was so good. Dark academia fantasy, very, very good. And this one is Strange the Dreamer, absolutely good. And I don't know if I recommend this one, so you know, take that with a grain of salt. Just pick it up anyways if you're still loving romantasy, but at this point I don't recommend. But that is it from me, friends. Thank you for coming with me to read the rest of my July TBR. Even though we only got 3 books finished in this video and I already had 1 finished and I had 1 left over, it was just completely perfect for me. If you want more videos like this, like and subscribe. It really does help my channel a lot, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye!